Good morning, Hope City, and welcome to your daily Devo. Today we're going to go through Matthew 14, 22 through 32. So if you want to flip to those pages and find your spot, while you're doing that, I'm going to read off just some words, and I'll get to those at the end. But so you're flipping to Matthew 14, 22 through 32. Here's some words I want you to listen to while you're doing it. Eternal, faithful, holy, loving, merciful, omnipresent, patient, truthful, wise. Okay, so keep those in mind. We'll come back to them. So you're at Matthew 14. We're going to start at verse 22 and go through to the end of that section. So this is the story of Peter and Jesus walking on water. Immediately he, this is referring to Jesus, made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. So pause real quick. If you read the section before, which I would encourage you to do, it's the feeding of the 5,000. So we just got done feeding the 5,000, literally loaves of bread, fish, bunch of baskets remaining, this amazing miracle that Jesus just did with the disciples. So keep that in mind, that he just did this huge miracle that they witnessed. And now forward back to verse 22. Immediately he, Jesus, made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Well into the night, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat was already some distance from land, battered by the waves because the wind was against them. Jesus came toward them, walking on the sea very early in the morning. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Immediately Jesus spoke to them. "Have courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter answered him, "command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshipped and said, "Truly you are the Son of God." I love this passage. It's one of my favorites, and it's something that actually just a God incident that I'm doing it today because this is something that the Lord has really been working in my own life in. And so something that I love about this to start off with is in verse 25, it says Jesus comes toward them. And so you think Jesus always draws near. He always draws near to us in our trials and our struggles. He's always watching us. And he always draws near to us. So you can take comfort in knowing that he sees you, he knows you, and he draws near to you. And then I love in verse 27, he says, "Have courage, it is I." He's revealing himself not just as their teacher, but as the great I am. So in this circumstance, the chaos, the wind is raging, he's revealing himself to them. And something I really like about this passage is we see that Peter asks him to allow him to walk on water. But Jesus didn't calm the seas for Peter to be able to do this. It was Jesus' call and provision that allowed Peter to take any steps at all on the water. And when we look at this, so we just saw Jesus doing these great miracles with feeding the 5,000. The disciples just saw this. I can't even imagine it. Could you imagine seeing a miracle like that? And then here they are. They see Jesus and they're terrified of the wind and the waves. So they've already seen his provision. They've seen what he's capable of. And yet the circumstances around them are still so strong and overpowering that they're still afraid and they don't know what to do or where to turn. One thing that I really like about this passage is the reminder that if the disciples had not been forced to get into the boat and go through embarking this journey, they would miss seeing God revealed right in front of them. And so I just read off a list of different characters or attributes of God. And we see that he is loving and kind and patient and eternal and omnipresent and sufficient, all these things. But if Peter and the disciples had never walked through the storm and never went on the boat during the raging wind and seas, they would have missed the opportunity to see a different character or attribute of God in the midst of this circumstance. And so something that I'm often reminded of, and I say to myself, is instead of walking through our circumstances and saying, whoa, these are so big and I don't know what to do with what's happening right now, I like to perspective shift. I like to change my perspective and think, if I didn't have to walk through this journey, I would miss God, the I am, revealing himself to me and moving through blank. So what is your blank? What's your fill in the blank? If you weren't going through your journey right now, whatever path God has you on, if you weren't going through it, you would miss the opportunity to see God moving in your blank. Is that your marriage? Is it your finances? Is it your job? Is it the temptations you're struggling with? God has you exactly where he wants you, and he had the disciples exactly where he wanted them because he wanted to reveal a new part of his character to them. They would have missed that. They would have missed seeing him as the great I am, or seeing him as a comforter, or seeing him as someone who is near to them in their time of struggle. They would have missed out on that if they hadn't been forced to get on the boat and go through the storm and go through the trial. So what trial are you going through right now that you can take a step back and say, let me shift my perspective. Let me say, what am I going to see? What character or what attribute am I going to see of God revealed through this circumstance? And how can I see this as a blessing? Because God's going to work through, God, the great I am, is going to work through what I'm going through right now. And I get to see his character revealed to me right in front of me. Something that Pastor Matt said through our James series was, take what little faith you have and give it to the Lord and see what he does with it. What is your boat? What boat do you need to come out of and take a step of obedience in something that feels scary, like the raging sea? What step do you need to take in obedience this week? Maybe it's even today. What step do you need to take that you can know and trust that the great I am is going to meet you in that place, reveal his character to you, and draw near to you? That's my challenge for you today. Have a great day, guys.